Here's a quick disclaimer. The views, statements, and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers. The statements are not intended to be product claims or medical advice. Hi, Diana Freik here. I'm the host of the Gooder Podcast, where I get to talk with the powerhouse women in the food, beverage, and wellness categories about their journeys to success and their insights on the industry. This episode is brought to you by Retail Voodoo, a brand development firm. Our clients include Starbucks, Kind, REI, PepsiCo, Hi-Key, and many other market leaders. We provide strategic brand and design services for leading brands in the food, wellness, beverage, and fitness industries. So if your goal is to increase market share, drive growth, or I'm going to say crush the competition, give us a call and let's talk. You can find out more at retail-voodoo.com. I am so very excited to introduce you all to Jennifer Wiese, founder and CEO of BeeFree Gluten Free Bakery. Jennifer never saw herself as an entrepreneur, but after her eldest son was diagnosed with autism back in 2008, she found herself on a new path. While searching for gluten-free foods to help her son's overall well-being, she quickly found that gluten-free and tasty did not often go together. 13 years later, she's focused on bringing delicious snacks full of real ingredients to the world while creating jobs for adults with autism. Well, so exciting to have you on the show after all this time, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm good, Diana. It's nice to see you, and thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, we just said this, you are not in Indianapolis. You're about 50 miles north of Indianapolis. Is that correct?
That is correct. A little town called Noblesville.
Noblesville. Okay. I love it. And we were just talking about my first time being in Indiana was at Sweets and Snacks, which was, I believe, was it 21 or 20? It was in 2021.
21, yes.
And just how I was just so shocked. I'm going to use the word shocked at just what a beautiful city Indianapolis was and how much it reminded me of Chicago from an architectural and just kind of a city planning standpoint. And so we just had a brief exchange about that. And you live in a much more quaint part of the state. And I feel like I need to go out and visit Indianapolis and kind of the surrounding area, maybe not just the city part.
You do. You need to come and visit. I'll give you the grand tour.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so I looked back in my notes and I saw that you and I originally connected back in 2017, which ironically is the same year that TikTok was launched. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to say it means something and we're going to leave it at that. It's been a few years and a lot has changed, and I can't wait for you to be able to cover some of those things with our folks here today. So let's start with the very beginning, or not the very beginning, but let's start with the basics. Tell us a little about BeeFree. Let's start with the very beginning. Let's hear a little bit more about BeeFree Gluten Free and what it stands for, how it came about.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's a story I love telling, and so I'm a family girl, and my husband and I have 4 sons, and why this is important is because our company BeeFree was created out of a family need. So one of our sons was diagnosed with autism, and back in 2008, we were looking for support for him. What could we do to wrap around him to give him the best shot at life? And so that introduced us to a gluten-free diet. And if you think back that many years ago, the world of gluten-free and the availability of delicious gluten-free foods, they didn't really go together. And there wasn't a lot of it to be found, especially in the grocery stores. If you wanted to, purchase something that was ready to eat, that was gluten-free, back then it was tough. There were a lot of things
Yeah.
that there were choices, and we were thankful for the choices that we had. But
Yeah.
what I was looking for was real ingredient foods that
Mm-hmm.
tasted delicious, that were
Mm-hmm.
nutritious, that didn't have a ton of chemicals and stabilizers and all other kinds of junk, as we like to say. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because of that, there was a void in the marketplace, and we were seeing some success and some positive things with a gluten-free diet for our son, and we felt like
Mm-hmm.
it was worth the time and the energy and the effort to dive a little deeper. And so we just got busy in our kitchen, and we started recreating favorite family recipes that fit the profile and the taste that I was looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
so in 2000, so we did some farmers markets and
Oh.
tested our food and our concept, and we just got overwhelming response. I mean, and the timing was perfect too. So this is like 2009, 8,
Mm-hmm.
9, and into 2010, and 2000. Gluten free was becoming popular then. It was becoming fashionable. It was being talked about in the media. Some professional athletes were adopting it as a way to increase their athletic performance. And so it
Mm-hmm.
was really being talked about a lot. And so
Gotcha.
we had already, a couple years of figuring out gluten free in our own kitchen. And so I feel like, the timing was just perfect for us to really enter the marketplace outside of farmers markets. And so, back in those early days, it was just me knocking on doors, and I was offering all my son's favorite foods. He loved chocolate chip cookies, um, cakes, pizza dough. Those were kind of our three staple items that we were selling back then in 2010 and 11. And
Mm-hmm.
then we joined as a family CrossFit, and CrossFit then introduced us to an
Yes.
even more refined way of eating that was more
Mm.
paleo, based, and
Mm-hmm.
more
Mm-hmm.
of that holistic hunter gatherer type of foods.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they encouraged us, our CrossFit family, was to find a snack that was shelf stable, that they could toss in their gym bag, they could keep in their desk drawer or their car, that would offer a variety outside of hard-boiled eggs, almonds, and beef jerky. So that was the challenge, and that's what we did. We created a product called Warrior Mix. It is a shelf-stable, ready-to-eat snack. It's made with really simple ingredients like almonds, sunflower, and pumpkin seeds. It's lightly sweetened with honey. And you can eat it on the go. It's made in cluster style chunks, so you can just tear open the package, grab a chunk, and off you go. So that's our product. That's the kind of the idea behind the company, and it really was really just, I was a mom on a mission, and I still am. But I say that a lot because it's really where the whole idea for the company started, was a passion to take care of my own family.
Yeah. Well, so this feels like a bonehead question because I've been in this natural better for you for so many years, but I'm going to ask it anyways. So your son has autism, and you're looking for gluten-free diet. Is there a relationship there, or was it just the between a gluten-free diet and a better care for those folks that have autism, or was this just a general health direction that you were going into?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So don't be down on yourself for asking that question. That's a really great question. And so my husband and I, attended an autism conference in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Mm-hmm.
really where it was an autism specific conference. That's where we learned
Mm-hmm.
about gluten free. And that's when we learned about the connection between
Mm.
gluten, what it does in your body. And then so it's a, inflammation trigger. So if
Yeah.
you remove gluten, and other types of food that act like gluten, like dairy, that's
Mm-hmm.
why often gluten and dairy come together when you're doing an elimination diet for things like attention, other maybe autism related types of
Mm-hmm.
behaviors, and
Mm-hmm.
just issues that you're trying to support, is going gluten free and dairy free. Often those two come together because of the inflammation issue. So it's really all based
Interesting.
around inflammation and lowering the
Gotcha.
inflammation in your body so that all of your pathways can work more optimally. So that's kind of the
Interesting.
really general explanation of why it can be effective. by no means a cure. I'm very quick to say
Sure.
this is not a
Yeah.
cure. This is
Yeah.
just one support mechanism that we found very effective for our son.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
And of course, as you're talking about it, it makes sense. But it just didn't even dawn on me when I was first reading it in your bio. So thanks for that. Was it you were the one that brought your son to Nosh? Was that correct? Did you bring your?
Yes. And you had a chance to meet him, I think. Yes.
Yes, I did. Is this you brought the son that this is all based around?
Yes, correct.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful human he is. Thank you I had no idea. What a nice connection. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. It was
Of course.
fun for me to introduce him to a lot of the people that, I'd been talking to for years, like you and so many others.
Yeah.
It was nice for them to, be able to make that connection and really to see him
Yeah.
as the true face behind the company.
Okay. So, mom on a mission mantra. We know what drove it initially. We're into year number 13. Has that mom on a mission changed in any ways?
In some ways, yes. I would say in many ways it has. Just as I am developing as a business leader, as an entrepreneur, as as just I get more experience and more confidence in my space, it certainly has changed a lot. But the core of Mom on a Mission that's in my heart has not. There still is a massive need. And so, we talked a little bit about the product and the importance for our family and many, many others out there in the world to choose gluten-free and clean label foods as a autism support mechanism. But the other thing that we haven't talked about is the job piece of it. So our son now is 27. He's a college graduate. And he has, overcome so many obstacles and hurdles. One of the things that is a constant challenge for him and so many others is the job piece, is going through an interview and coming out successfully with a job and then being able to keep a job and grow with that job. And it's an issue that it repeats itself in every community across the world. And it is a growing issue that there are lots of young adults that are coming out of school, out of high school, either with or without a degree, that after they get to age 22, there might not be anything for them as far as their
Yes.
Government supports end at age 22. So if there's no employment option, what do all those people do? A lot of them stay home. And
Yes.
and many are willing and very able to hold
Yes.
a job. And so we're really passionate about being a source to that problem. So providing jobs for people who are often overlooked. And just, how do we do that? And how do we be that example for other businesses who want to do the same?
This is fantastic. One of my biggest goals with the Gooder podcast is to normalize women in leadership in all roles, whether it's in startups or entrepreneurial brands or large CPGs. But there's a diversity component to it, because one of the things that I've noticed over years is that the natural and better for you industry has always skewed towards upper middle class. Those that have able-bodied, mostly Caucasian, like you just put in every single type of definition. And I think where it comes from was the fact that innovation came from people who had access to money and relationships and that sort of thing. And they developed products that were for like-minded people. And when you look at the data, then it looks like that those are the only people that are interested in better health. The reality is that there's a huge group of people that need the type of not just products that you have, but also need to be more open-minded to the type of employment that they can offer in this space. We don't need to be providing entry-level jobs to groups of people simply because we don't understand. And I love the fact that you're taking a leadership position here, not just from from a product standpoint, but then also from a leadership standpoint, from a business growth and opportunity standpoint. This is a really great connection and holistic approach to business. I love it. Love it.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's, it's really coming straight from our heart. And,
Yeah.
we really feel like so many of those things that are need based, those are the things that are super sustainable, I think. And like I said, this is something that is not, just in my community. It's in every community. Autism is a worldwide issue. And so every community is dealing with people in their neighborhoods that have autism that, are willing and able to work. They just need the platform in which to do so.
Well, so in addition to starting this, back when you started the company and were developing these products and you were learning a new way of parenting, you're in the Midwest. As we said earlier, you're 50 miles north of Indianapolis, not really a region or area that's known for CPG in general. And I want to say this a little tongue in cheek, but kind of like, what were you thinking? Like, how did you go, this is what I'm going to do? I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming you were like, didn't even know where to start, but you were going to do it anyways. Tell us about those early days and what you were thinking.
Well, you don't know what you don't know, right? I mean, and so, in those early days, I think that, part of the thing too, that I think is really important is that, my husband and I really parent from, we like to be examples, not just be those words that say, do this, don't follow me, but just hear what I'm saying. And so we want to be examples of being fearless and doing things that push you outside of your comfort zone. And if you have an idea, you should put it out there in the world. Let the world tell you whether, it's a good idea or not. And, so I think those were part of, in the early days, those are part of the things that I was, wanting to set an example for my young sons that if you have a passion for something, if you have an idea, if you have something to give to the world, you should share it. You should not hold it in to yourself. You should share it, with the world. So that was one of the driving factors for me in those early days. And then, like I said, I was creating something for my family. And I also have a pleasing kind of a personality. I'm very much a helper. And so I wanted to make lives better for other people. And that was one way I felt like I could do it. It was one thing I could give. Was something that I had already figured out that was really difficult for my family. And if I could, shine a light on gluten-free for another family that, was able to create a delicious meal and an experience around food for them, well, that's a win. So, those definitely, I just dug in and I just started figuring things out, and I started surrounding myself with people that were way smarter than me, that were a few steps ahead that I could learn from. I asked lots of questions. So I was just curious and inquisitive enough to dig in and try to figure things out.
Now, am I remembering correctly? You come from hospitality, is that correct?
That was part of my career. So I am a fashion design student, and in college, and so I had many years in retail, fashion, and buying and merchandising, that kind of stuff. And then I did make a shift to hotel sales, which is a really great part of my young 20s, and then after that, I retired to raise a family. So, so I have experience. And that was I draw on those days in hotel sales a lot because I had really great sales training. And so it was a really great foundation for me that I use every day now. So it's been great.
Well, so in those early days, where did you find, I'm talking about the early days as you started to make connections. Of course, you probably met some interesting people, but where did you start in the beginning? Whose doors were you knocking on to get guidance and advice? Because that was before all of these amazing hatcheries that existed
Yes.
that exist now.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, we have been part of SKU, which is an accelerator program, which is
Yes.
amazing. But yeah, this
Yes.
was way, way, way before anything like
Right?
that existed.
Yeah.
I remember reaching out to a consultant. I was all over the web. There wasn't really a whole lot of other things. There were no, like little groups in my town or even close by that I could drive to. And, but I, was just all over the web and, talking to a lot of my grocery store connections, that were category
really?
managers and stuff like that. And, just started asking, who do you respect in the industry? Who do you think is doing a really great job? And then I, would reach out to other brands that weren't competitors, in a different space. So you'd be more willing to share and just try to learn from each other that way. I did connect with a consultant, and I can't even remember where I met her, but once a week for a year or so, we would have a phone call. And this was before, there were no video calls, right?
Right.
It was just a phone call on a phone with a cord. I'm not that old, I'm just kidding. But
mounted to the wall. I had to crank it. No, I'm joking.
Exactly. But anyhow, so, she was able to just guide me in some areas and give me some things to think about and make some introductions. And, so kind of just, that's really how I got started in those early days.
Well, that is fantastic. I'm curious now, over this period of time, going from the mom that was the retired professional, the retired executive, to here we are 13 years later in your brand, how your leadership has changed and morphed over the years, and can you see that it's changed?
Yeah, I am much more decisive. I think that I definitely have grown in my confidence, in my ability to be a leader. And with that has definitely become, I've just become more decisive. I've been able to make decisions quicker than before. And I'm obviously a risk taker or I would not be in this space.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think, just more ability to make some decisions that are maybe riskier than I would have a couple of years ago. And just really trying to be better every day. I kind of try to live that motto. I'm trying to be better today than I was yesterday. And I just kind of try to keep that going and surrounding myself and being a good listener and always being teachable.
Yay. All right. Well, in the last few years, I wonder if you can share any milestones or any kind of monumental moments. I'm sure there are many in the last 13 years. Maybe we could look at the last few years and just kind of say, because I've seen a big pivot with the brand just in the last few years. But for those that don't know BeeFree, what are the big milestones that have really catapulted you in the last couple of years to where you are right now?
Yeah, sure. Well, we have COVID in kind of the middle of those, last 3 years too. So, and that's important in our story. But prior to COVID, a big milestone for us was surpassing $1 million in revenue. That was a really big deal for me. I was really laser focused on that. And we were able to make that happen. And, all the milestones are big. I remember when selling a case was a big deal, selling, going from individual bags to a case. And then I sold, a pallet, and then I sold a truck full. And then, so I mean, all of those milestones are big,
Yeah.
because wherever you are at the
Yeah.
time, I feel like, um, you are where you are. And then when you get to that
Right.
next big, jump, then you look at what's
Mm-hmm.
next ahead. And so
Mm-hmm.
just keeping those flags, as Rob Deerdeck likes to say, right? Just keep planting those flags and knocking them down. Um, but so another milestone related to COVID was we had a ton of growth planned for 2020, as many
Yeah.
other companies
As
did.
many did.
But that was
Mm-hmm.
going to be the year we were going to bust $3 million. That was our goal. And that didn't happen. And
Mm-hmm.
but what did happen was we survived. And
That's a big
it
deal.
sounds like really, tiny, but when so many other companies around us didn't survive, we did. We clearly, we lost revenue from the previous year, but we survived. And I'm still here today to say that, our company has recovered from COVID. It took us about 2 years to recover. And now we've recovered and we have this amazing momentum. And we're really focused on keeping that momentum. But yeah, there was been some really big, and I try to also think about and focus on the little things. They're not
Yes.
all the $1 million or $3 million
Yeah.
years. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's the year that look, we recovered. Like, we were able to stay afloat.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to just look at those. What are those little
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
And
Sometimes it's bringing your son to a trade show.
yes. And that was so huge for us too, because, he's 27 years old. And for me, I made the invitation and he quickly accepted was so heartwarming for me that, he wants to spend time with me. And it was a really, really special time for us, to travel together like that. And just, to meet people, and for me to kind of watch him in action, as a young adult, having conversations with people that he's
Mm-hmm.
never met before. I
Mm-hmm.
know he was
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable, but he put himself intentionally in uncomfortable situations
Mm-hmm.
so that he could have the experience. So it was really fun. I'm glad you had a
That,
chance to meet him too.
yeah. Well, and then you guys were both sharing a new product at the same time that I quickly devoured. And as I was planning for this call, I was like, I forgot to order some more of those. I'm going to make that happen.
Well,
Um,
shame on me for not sending you another case of
oh,
it.
don't know. You know what? You have plenty of expenses. I can buy my own snacks. I'm good with that. Now, what advice do you give yourself to others on a similar journey as yours? Now, technology has certainly changed, but the mindset is the mindset. What can you share with folks that are wanting to try something new and outside of their skin?
I like to say that believe in yourself and believe in your product, and don't let other people, don't let other people kind of knock you off your horse. I say, if you've got something that you feel strongly about that the world needs to have, then just go for it and keep looking for people that will open doors for you and that
Yes.
will let you in and that will come
Yes.
alongside of you and support you
Yes.
and build you up.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Wow. So what's next for you for Be Free? What can we expect this next year?
Yeah, well, you mentioned a couple new products. So we have some new products. We have some new little mini bars, and one is
Yes,
oat based and one is
that's what I was
nut
talking about.
based.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we have a hot cocoa mix. That's a
Ooh.
keto hot cocoa mix, and we're getting ready. Okay, so I'll share this with you. No one else knows this, but
We won't tell anybody.
we're getting ready to see if we can make it into like a frozen cocoa slushy. So, yeah, so I've got a
Oh.
slushy machine and we're going to put it to the test next week. I'll have to let you know how it goes.
Ooh,
And if
yes.
and if that's a win, then we have plans to do some farmers markets
Yes.
and some other events in our community, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
do that on like a food truck, and it will be a really
Mm-hmm.
great way for us to bring our autism jobs into the
Yes.
forefront of our community and let people
Yes.
see what we're doing, let people meet our
Yes.
people, and kind of just see it in action and let those floodgates open.
Yes.
And then we'll be able to have a lot more jobs available for people with autism as well.
That's amazing. Are there any other women leaders or rising stars out there in our industry or not that you would like to elevate or simply admire for the work that they're doing right now?
There are so many. Oh my gosh, there are so many women doing amazing things out there, either in CPG or not. You know, and I'm all for the underdog too. You know, I'm a real underdog supporter kind of girl, and I love the everyday moms, you know, that are doing the work. 3 of them on my team right now are moms, and one of them has young kids that she puts to school, and then does her work for BeeFree, and there's just so many inspirations, and I love to draw inspiration from women of all ages, of
Yes.
all different parts of our world.
Yes.
And there's one in particular too. So there's a woman that runs an organization called Janus, and it's directly in our community of Noblesville. And she is at the head of this organization, and we partner with them for they offer developmental services for people with autism and all other kinds of things that require a little something special. And she just is really doing amazing work that changes people's lives every single day.
That's amazing. What's the name of the organization again?
It's Janus, Janus. Janus.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in Noblesville, Indiana. It's amazing.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to find a moment to peek that up. Well, we have been talking with Jennifer Wiese, founder and CEO of BeeFree Gluten Free. Jennifer, where can people learn more about you and your company?
Sure. You can go to our website, which is beefreegf.com. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at BeeFreeGF and BeeFree Gluten Free. You can also find us on LinkedIn. We're in under with me directly, Jennifer Wiese. We also have BeeFree on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today, Jennifer. I'm so happy that we got this time to connect, and I really look forward to seeing you. I suspect you'll be at Expo West?
Yes, I will. I'll look for you.
Well, I will look for you too. And I'm going to thank all of you listeners for your time today. If you like this episode, please share it with a friend. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you next time on the Gooder Podcast.
Produced by Heartcast Media.